This video is for entertainment purposes only. None of the information you're about to hear should be considered medical advice, and you should always consult a licensed medical practitioner before embarking on a health or lifestyle change. Okay, so we're recording with Alan from Alan's Awesome Keto World. How you doing today, Alan?
I'm doing great. How's everybody doing? How are you doing,
Yeah,
Jason?
no, I'm good. It's a kind of a cloudy Sunday out there today, but the weather's warmed up a little bit after our foot of snow that we got on Friday, so I can't complain.
Yeah, we're still having cool weather here, but it's supposedly not so sunny these sunny California days, so in Southern California. But today's supposed to be getting better this week. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, can't get any worse. Hopefully here, I'm hoping that we're done with winter now, but
yeah,
it's hard to say here. So
yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here. I do appreciate you coming by and spending some time with us. The sort of aim of these presentations or interviews, as you will, is just to try and bring some different stories to people, because everyone's got a different story to tell about how they started keto and how things are going. And so why don't we start there? Sort of, if you can, give us some background as to what led you to a keto way of eating, and sort of how things have been going.
Yeah. So I started back in, I'm going to say October of 2017. I actually went to the doctors for my annual physical. And my doctor said, you're considered morbidly obese, and you're right on the borderline of type 2 diabetes, and you've got high blood pressure, and and he says you're really heading into a world that's probably not real good to go into your golden years with. So he suggested to me at the time that I started doing keto. He said, check keto out, look at it, see if it's something that you think is viable. So from there, I started looking at it, watching, of course, you watch all the big guys, right? Like Thomas DeLaury, and then you start watching some others, and starting trying to get some information. There's so much information. It's really kind of overwhelming. And everybody is different, right? So like you said, so I started back in October trying to do it. And that's where I started my journey, and been doing it ever since. So a little over 5 years now.
Yeah, and I see from your channel, you're pretty. I'm gathering. Have you always sort of done a total carb kind of
No,
counting with
actually,
your keto, or?
No, actually, when I started off, I kind of started off more of I would say just a net carb, the 20 net carbs, and I was doing 20 net carbs. And then that really kind of got me where I needed to go initially. I dropped about 40 or 50 pounds with it. And then I kind of stayed there for a while. But I wanted to lose some more weight. And I found that if I was doing the net carbs, I was kind of stuck. So when I switched to total carbs, it kind of pushed me down to the next step where I wanted to go. So it was, and I would, so it was easy for me to do the net carbs. It was easy to calculate. It was still allowing me some of the treats, but not excessively a lot of them. So that's kind of where I started with that 20 net carbs.
Yeah, and I think well, I don't know the percentage, but I think a lot of people probably start that way. Like I was the same way too. I wasn't really worried too much about the amount of carbs. I knew if I was eating under a certain amount of net carbs, things were working for me, so I didn't worry too much about it. But I think as things go along, you're right. You lose that initial weight, and then I don't know about you, but for me, things slowed down, and even started going back up a bit. Even though I was still following the same diet, things were changing and not the way I wanted them to.
Yeah. Well, I think over time too. When I first started out, it was kind of I didn't know a lot about the keto sweets that were out there, right? So I was pretty much doing my own baking or cooking, and it was probably more whole foods at the time, 2018, 2019. And then as you get more and more into it, you start learning about, the high key cookies and,
Hmm.
and all the other different things that you can start buying out there, the Nola bars from Perfect Keto and all that stuff. And all of a sudden those sweets really can start adding up pretty fast. They're good on net carbs, and even the breads and stuff like that. There's all kinds of breads out there that are good on net carbs, but not necessarily very good on total carbs. So all those things start really adding up, and um, yeah,
Yeah, I completely agree. At the first couple of years, I was all about, the perfect keto stuff and
yeah,
all those. And I think you're right. I think it's while your body's healing, it can handle, it can manage with some treats like that. But to keep uh, the maintenance part of it, after you lose the initial weight or you want to drop that last 10, 20 pounds or whatever it is,
yeah,
that's when you come to realize that total carb intake is definitely important. um,
yeah,
and like, I don't know what you're like with, for me, I have a real hard time staying away from sweet things.
yeah.
I
I do
always
too.
still crave them. It's
Yeah,
um,
and I will eat them every once in a while, but I try to really limit what's in the house. So if I eat it, there's
mm,
not a ton of it. So I'll eat a little bit of it, and that way there's no more to have. So I can't really go crazy on it too much. Um,
yeah. Yeah,
uh,
absolutely. I'm the same way. Like if I buy like chocolate chips or something for baking, for like even just making videos for YouTube,
yeah,
that's a slippery slope for me, because
yeah,
I don't need the whole bag. So now they're just there. So it's kind of
yeah,
a, in the back of my head, it's a temptation that I have to try
yeah,
and drive down with, eating meat and
yeah,
salt and
yeah.
trying to
I
stay
know.
away from it.
Yeah, I know a lot of the stuff like I bake for videos and stuff like that. I'll eat a little bit of it, but I'll also try to bring it like into my work and have my
Mm,
coworkers that are not keto try it, and they kind of can give me a really good opinion on whether they like it or don't like it, or they think it's funny tasting, um,
sure.
and that's a good way to get rid of the excess too, as well. So I don't keep so if I got a recipe that I'm gonna make from Keto Bakes. Sent me some new brownie mix that they got out, and they wanted me to try it. So I'm gonna make it and try it, but I'll probably bring half of it to work with me, just so that my wife and I will have a piece of it, and then some of it will go to some of my coworkers, and that way
Hmm.
there I don't have the whole pan there, and I don't eat the whole pan.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea, because you're right. If you do, and that's one of the things with the mixes. Like there's been some that I've tried from ANS Performance, and the different mixes where you do make a whole pan of brownies and stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, well, if they're in the fridge, then I'm gonna wind up eating them all. It
yeah,
may not be today or tomorrow, but I'm gonna eat them all. So
yeah,
it's definitely, that's a good piece of advice, is just to
yeah,
try and, you know you're right. A lot of people that don't eat like this can't really tolerate or don't like the alternative sweeteners, but
yeah,
some of the stuff's getting pretty good where you can't really even tell the difference.
yeah. It doesn't. The alternative sweeteners really haven't affected me a whole lot. I did for a short period of time wear a continuous glucose monitor, and when I was eating the erythritol or monk fruit and or allulose, it didn't do anything to my blood sugar whatsoever, one way or
Hmm.
another. Um,
Yeah.
and actually, allulose when I ate something with it, that it would help my blood sugar go down versus
Hmm.
go up, have just the opposite
Yeah.
effect, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's one sweetener I've never tried here yet. I haven't really even looked for it here in Canada yet.
yeah,
So I don't, again,
Yeah.
I've tried to stay away from. I don't
Yeah.
bake stuff anymore, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I still do a
I
little bit. My wife's not a keto person, so she likes
mhm,
to have some sweets. So it's kind of a compromise. Rather than her
sure,
bringing in the full sugar ones, we'll bake something. Not a lot of it. Like I say, a small pan of it. And
hmm
then it satisfies her, and I can have a piece or two of it and not feel too guilty about it. But again, trying to stay away from it 90% of the time. So,
sure,
um,
yeah, I
but
hear you.
but my
So have
diet has
you?
really.
Sorry.
I was gonna say my diet has really changed doing this as well. I mean, when I started first doing it, it was kind of basic. The whole foods, veggies. Um, but as I got into reading more about the labels and then trying to really decipher and discovering some of the things I was eating was not really that great for you. So it became from a weight loss goal to more of into a health goal as well. So trying to cut all the bad oils out, trying to cut all the sugars out. And it's really, from reading the labels and learning to read the labels and really checking things. I would say my diet has really, really changed. Um,
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. The first sort of, I don't know, 9 months to a year that I was doing keto, I didn't really worry too much about that stuff. I
yeah,
was still
me
eating
neither.
store-bought mayonnaise and,
Yeah,
salad dressings and stuff like that. And you're right. It goes from, okay, well, now I've lost the weight. What else can I do to make myself healthy? And
yeah,
that's when you start, especially when you get down that rabbit hole on YouTube of all the creators like, Dr. Barry and Thomas DeLauer, and because they're always preaching, you know, okay, well, we've got rid of the sugar and the grains. Well, the next step, even though it should be one of the first steps, is to get rid of the seed oils and,
yeah,
the bad ingredients that you find in some of these products.
yeah, yeah. So I'm again, I think you kind of do what works for you initially at first,
hmm
um, and if it's working for you, keep doing it, and if it's sustainable for you, and then you'll grow. And that's kind of where I think I've gone over the years. I'm not the most, I'm gonna say, most knowledgeable person, but I try to keep somewhat informed and try to keep somewhat up to date. Um, a little bit, I'm also one of those folks that I'm not going to believe everything everybody tells me. I'm going to do my own research and do my own
Right.
investigation. So
Yeah.
even Dr. Barry says that you should be doing this. I'm going to do my own research before, to kind of come to my own conclusions and stuff. And, um,
Sure.
and even with Thomas the Lowry as well. Um, you know, so
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like everybody's got some good information, but, you know, goes right back to what we said at the beginning is everyone does things differently and
yeah,
everything, things work differently for other people. What the
yeah,
way Dr. Barry might put it might work for a lot of people and some people it doesn't. Thomas DeLauer, I started off watching him years ago before I even started keto.
yeah,
Um, but what people have to understand with him, especially now that he's not so, let's say he's not 100% keto focused anymore,
yeah,
you have to understand where he is in his journey. Like he's a,
yeah,
you know, pretty much in the top, 0.1% of human beings, right? So
yeah,
he's not coming. I know he did come from a place where he was metabolically unhealthy, but he's at a place in
yeah,
his life now where things work. Some leniencies that don't work for some people work for him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's allowed to working out and exercising, and also becoming more insulin resistant. So he's you know he he's kind of watches what he does, and what
hmm
he does. I guess and I know he talks a little bit about some of his when he does his photo shoots and stuff like that. He gets really back into the keto stuff to lose all the body fat and stuff to
hmm
to show the muscle and all that stuff. And I know Goody
Sure.
Beats is another one that does a lot of that stuff, and he does some
hmm
amateur bodybuilding stuff as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
for sure. Yeah. Like I say, you just have to realize that some people are coming from a different place, like
Yeah.
you've got Paul Saladino, who, he was 2 years ago, he was all about carnivore. That was the only way to live. And now he is, carnivore, but he eats quite a bit of fruit, but then again, you
Yeah.
have to look at the guy and realize that, okay, well, he's another one of these guys that's pretty much as healthy as could possibly be. And he lives in Costa Rica, so he's got, papaya trees in his backyard. Well,
Yeah.
so that's eating whole foods, that's
Yeah.
eating to your environment. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think things evolve over time. The
Yeah.
way we're doing things today is probably going to be different in 2 years, right?
Yeah. I
Because
would. I would think so. So, you
you
know.
just have to continue doing what works best over time.
Yeah. And I do think that you need to kind of give yourself some leeway sometimes as well, and then jump back on it. I think it's good. I think you have to confuse your body a little bit sometimes to get things to work right. Um,
Hmm.
I know I did the protein sparing modifying fast back in 2001. And that actually worked really, really well for me. Um,
Hmm.
it was a good protocol. I enjoyed it. I still ate pretty good. Um, and I dropped weight pretty fast with it. It's so if you're into fasting instead of fasting for 24 hours, you do a protein fast, and
Hmm.
it was pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
so I could understand where people would, but again, it's not something I would do long term. It's not sustainable. Um, and the problem comes is when you get off of it, how do you maintain the weight you lost on it?
Sure. Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, it's changes in the way you do things, especially the fasting, and if you increase your fat intake or your protein intake or whatever, and switch things up. Like
Yeah,
I personally I can't go off a keto sort of way of eating, because I don't have that ability to do that and then switch back and forth. I'm, especially with
yeah,
some of the digestive issues I have, just it's not worth it to me.
yeah,
But I understand what you're saying completely, that keeping your body guessing, from one day to the next or one week to the next can really help
yeah,
uh, kickstart things if they've slowed down.
yeah. One of the things I found too is, being older, is the inflammation. So,
Hmm.
really, the arthritis in my hands, my shoulder used to really bother me. I couldn't even lay on my shoulder before. Now it doesn't bother me anymore. And as
Hmm.
soon as I do eat something like that, though, or have a drink, or I can really feel it, especially in my hands, and then in my knees as well.
Hmm.
It's
Yep,
something I'm
I'm
really conscious about.
sure. Yeah, I agree. It is weird how quickly that can come back up again. I've had to. One thing that's sort of got me recently is my biggest weakness is like nut butters, like
Yeah,
peanut butter and stuff like that. I have uh, definitely consumed too much of that in the last couple of years. But I was actually getting a gout flare up in my one toe. Um, and I've come to realize that the biggest part of that with me was the nuts, like because they were causing inflammation.
yeah,
So I've cut them out of my diet completely, and that just went away. So, you
yeah,
know, I guess the thing to take away from that is you have to listen to your body.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
if you eat something and the next day you're all sore
Yeah,
and all that, you just have to realize, oh well, okay, I just have to understand that if I eat that again, this is what's going to happen.
yeah, yeah. And I know, even because, when I learned that continuous glucose monitor, when you go out to eat for dinner too, you don't really quite know what you're getting.
Hmm.
Um, we went out for breakfast one time, and I had asked for an omelet, and I said, is it just eggs, cheese, and bacon you're putting in the omelet? And they said, oh yeah, we're not putting anything else. It's just egg, cheese. And boy, I'll tell you, spiked my insulin like crazy. So there had to be something in there. And I know some places put like pancake mix to make the omelet more bigger and fluffier. And so they had to have put something else in it
Sure.
to make it go up like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like going out for dinner can be challenging. It's because you're right. You just never know. And 9 times out of 10, like even if you get something like chicken wings that aren't breaded, they're still deep fried in some crappy oil, right?
Yeah. I guess it's the lesser of any evils. I mean, when you're out, but
oh yeah, absolutely. That's why I don't worry too much about when I go out for, to a restaurant kind of thing. I just try and find the best thing I can and deal with it, deal with the consequences later, I guess.
Yeah. The steak and vegetables is a good go-to, or something like that, some kind of meat or something.
Sure.
Anyway.
So how do you, you say your wife isn't living a keto lifestyle. How do you sort of navigate that, that balance between the way you're eating and the way she is?
Yeah, she's actually real supportive of it, because of the fact she's seen what a difference it's made for me. It's really, she says, oh, it took 20 years off of your life, right? And she said, now you're younger than I am, and she's like 15 years younger than I. So, but she's just seen that difference it's made in my life. So she's been pretty supportive of it. Again, she still brings her sweets and stuff into the house, and I don't have a problem with it. Generally, I'm pretty good about keeping it, and she pretty good about limiting it. She does like some of the same type of snacks and stuff. She does like nuts and stuff, and we'll keep some nuts in the house. But again, like you had said, we have to keep that stuff pretty limited. Pecans, and she's walnuts, macadamia nuts, those type of things. But we keep them pretty limited. And so it's once or twice a week, maybe, on something like that. And it's a quarter cup or something. And she'll tell me, oh, you already had a quarter cup. Don't eat anymore. Because I'll be sit there and eat the whole bag if she didn't remind me. And she'll eat pork rinds and things of that nature. That, of course, and she's good about cooking foods, because sometimes she'll cook food and she'll cook it partially away. Like I said, she'll cook something with noodles in it, or that it's going to have noodles in it, I should say. So she'll cook all of the main ingredients, and then she'll take and kind of divide it and put noodles in her part of it. And then she'll put something like shiitake noodles or the Palm of Hearts or something in the ones that I'm going to eat. So that way we're both having basically the same dish, but different types of noodles in it. And, so I give her credit for doing that. I really appreciate her doing that. So she's been a huge supporter of it. Is it tempting a lot of times when she goes out and, and wants a bowl of ice cream, and she has a regular bowl of ice cream, and, I'll have some keto chow or something like that instead. But it's just, it's the temptation's there to say, oh, I'd like to have a couple tastes of that. And then you taste it once or twice, and then next thing you know, you're eating half of the gallon of ice cream. So, but she's been pretty supportive about it. Like I said, so when she sees me starting to go off the rails, she'll say something.
No, that's great. It's, and I guess there's a lot of households that are all on board and a lot that aren't. I'm in the same boat sort of that you are. But we do the same thing, usually there's like a protein that we're going to have, whether it's steak or chicken or whatever. Like I'm going to make steak for supper tonight.
Yeah, we are too.
And I'll basically just have steak and maybe some of the vegetables that we make up. And then, my wife might throw a potato on the barbecue too. And, so it's a balancing act. And you're right. It's the hardest part sometimes is when there's indulgent things like potato chips or sweets or sitting around. I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't bother me so much anymore after 4 years. It's kind of, I can sort of tune it out, but having support at home for what you're doing is definitely a big thing, I think, in this lifestyle.
Yeah, I think so too. Either that, or even, and then, or having a community that you can lean on.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and like I say, I know my daughter, she's doing keto, but her kids aren't, or her husband's not. So it makes it really hard for
Mm-hmm.
her. But I think having the community to talk to and go to helps inspire her and helps keep her on track, helps motivate her to continue on. Uh, and it's
Sure.
not easy for anybody.
Yeah.
So you got to have some kind of support system, whether it's a spouse or a family member and or somebody in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that's what we're doing, right? So hopefully we're helping some folks stay keto or either possibly even think about starting at the lifestyle.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I got, like, and that's sort of why I started my YouTube channel. Like I was 2 years into keto already and had really gone through my sort of transformation before I even started YouTube. But it
Yeah.
basically just came down to I want to bring sort of what I know about it and what I experienced to other people. And,
Yeah.
I think yesterday was, I got a comment on my live stream from last night from someone sort of to the effect that she, uses community like mine and yours and, everyone as a support system because the same thing, she's living keto by herself at home,
Yeah.
so she leans on creators like the two of us that help
Yeah.
bring, information to people. So I think it's working, all we can
Yeah.
really do is keep doing it, and hopefully we're changing some lives as we go.
Yeah. Well, the thing of it is, if you change one person's life, that's did the right thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know I started.
Yeah.
I'm much like you. I started as well when I've lost my weight, and my wife was saying, you should really tell people what you're doing, and because you've done such a great job, and you should start a YouTube channel. And she was the one that was pushing me, and she's the one that got me to start doing this whole thing, which is
Well,
kind of weird. Now it's taking up a lot of my time, and she's not so thrilled about that part of it.
yeah, yeah, because your YouTube channel is definitely doing well. Like it's the community you have over there is, you've
Yeah.
got a lot of people following along, and again, that's the more people we can get watching videos like this, the
Yeah.
better chance we have of changing those lives and making it worth it in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely on board with that. And then I know for me, one of the things I think I'm going to try to do this year is I'm actually going to try to get a coaching certificate,
Mm.
um, a nutritional coaching certificate, just to, my wife and I have talked about it, and I thought it'd be something cool to do. It would give me a better understanding and more knowledge, as well as maybe be able to reach out and help some folks on a one-to-one basis too, as well, which I think would be pretty cool to help along and help out. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of those things I've thought about in the past too.
yeah,
Like I know lots of people once they've been on YouTube for a while, they want to have that knowledge that they can pass along, and
yeah,
the coaching certificates aren't you know too overbearing as far as consuming time and all that.
yeah,
You can usually do
yeah,
it at your own pace, and
yeah,
that would definitely be a good another good tool to bring to the community.
yeah, yeah. I'm thinking I'm not that far from retirement, so for me it would
Hmm.
be it'd be a nice thing to help. I want to do something when I retire. I don't want to just retire, sit in a rocking chair, and and that's part of doing the keto thing is I want to be able to get up and go. I want to be moving. I want to be active. I want to, be going for
Hmm.
walks, working out still. I want to go do things, vacations, and so on and so forth. And, um,
Yeah,
so it's,
yeah, 100% agree. That was basically why I started, is because I realized that if I didn't do something, that I was going to live a life where I couldn't really enjoy living. So either make a change or accept the fact that, I wasn't going to be able to do the things I wanted and play with my grandkids. And,
Yeah.
so it's a pretty big motivator. Uh,
Yeah.
when you get to that point, that's for sure.
Yeah. And I have, my mother had type 2 diabetes. I have a brother that has type 2 diabetes. My mother-in-law had type 2 diabetes, and you see what they went through, and, the stuff my mother dealt with, and then stuff my mother-in-law dealt with, and, just all the health issues and all the problems and complications it brings. And, you know, it's kind of saying, yeah, I don't want to go through that. So I want to be much more active, and I want to be much more energetic and moving. And my father is kind of the guy that eats right, and he's healthy. He's busy all the time. He's working all the time, and he's actually going to be 100 in May this year. So,
Wow.
so yeah, so
So he's doing something right.
I'm hoping I can follow in his footsteps somewhat.
Yeah.
Get close to that mark. But yeah.
All we can really do is do our best to, give ourselves the best chance, I think. And eating proper food and diet and exercise and I don't know about yourself, but I've been sort of branched out into trying to fix my sleep and breathing and getting into everything that is all sort of tied together. Because if you can have the best diet and you can exercise all the time, if you don't sleep very well, then that can go right out the window. So for me, every year sort of brings on more things, and I mean, like, okay, well, I'm feeling good, lost weight, well, but I still sleep like crap. So this is the next thing I have to fix.
Yeah, actually, it was interesting because yesterday on my live, we talked a little bit about it, and someone had commented about taking magnesium just before you go to sleep. So I did that last night, and I actually slept really good last night. Because my problem is usually when I get up in the middle of the night, about 5 hours into my sleep and go to the restroom, then I have a trouble and I can't go back to sleep. And last night, I got up, I went to the restroom, I came back, and I laid down, and I was gone. So I don't know whether it was the magnesium or what, but I'm going to try that for a while. I've tried several different things. I tried the perfect keto. What was it? The Sleep and Beauty collagen or whatever it was they did. I tried that for a month, and it didn't do a thing to me. Didn't help me whatsoever. I tried some VSDI or CI or something like that, patches that were they had melatonin in them, and put them on. That didn't seem to help me at all either. Again, it put me to sleep really fast, but that 5 hour mark when I woke up, it didn't help with that at all.
Sure.
So I'm going to try it for the next week or two. And I take the magnesium glycinate, and I'm going to take that, like I say, about an hour or 2 hours before I go to bed. I'm going to try that this week, and I'll see how it goes. And if it improves my sleep, then maybe I'll continue to do it. If it doesn't, then I'll probably just go back to where I was taking it in the morning.
Right. Yeah, I take magnesium every night as well. Because because I do find it helps me, relax and calm down. And so I've always taken it at night, for the last 4 years kind of thing. Like I don't take it every night religiously or anything, but I've never tried taking it at any other time. So I don't know necessarily that it's helping my sleep. It definitely doesn't hinder it. The biggest thing I found with sleep is the getting to bed at the same time every night kind of thing, and doing some breathing exercises, and getting a nice dark quiet room, and there's just so much that goes along with it that you can't always get it to work properly, but we can just do our best, I guess.
Yeah, and I find that's probably one of the areas that I have to work on a lot, because it's not, my sleep's not the best, but that's why I'm saying I tried a few different things. I do wear a
Mhm.
Fitbit, and the Fitbit
Mhm.
does track your sleep. So I wear it at night so that it tracks my sleep. It tells me whether I'm getting good sleep, bad sleep, restless, that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. And there's certain days of the week, like so from Sunday to Monday for me is a transition day because I'm back into the work week. Because I get up at, in the morning, and um, the last 2 days you're going to bed a little bit later.
Mhm.
So usually Monday is my worst day of the week as far as sleep goes. So and probably that's why Mondays you have the Mondays blues because you're
Sh-
tired and
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yeah. Yeah. I completely hear you. I usually Sunday night into Monday, I'm back into the mode of thinking
yeah,
about what I'm going to be doing the next day. And
yeah,
Friday and Saturday night, I'm just like, I don't really care. I'm just going to
yeah,
sleep, and, whatever
yeah,
happens tomorrow happens. So
yeah, yeah. No,
cool.
no. Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't know. The other supplements. Do you take any other supplements or anything? Or yeah,
Um, mm, yes, not all the time.
yeah,
I do use some melatonin as well.
yeah,
I find it helps a little bit with that, being able to get back to sleep if you wake up in the middle of the night.
yeah,
I take vitamin C and vitamin D and like
yeah,
D3 and K2 and like the
yeah.
usual suspects kind of thing.
Okay.
I've done all the different things. I did when Dr. Barry said should be taking the, what is it, the iodine
Yeah,
supplements and stuff like that.
yeah,
I never really felt that it made that much difference. So I don't, I haven't
yeah.
stuck most of them out. Magnesium's probably the one that I stick with because if I don't take it for a few days, I get leg cramps at night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, it's probably
what?
I take more than I should. I take the zinc and I take the iodine and I take the D3 K2 and I
Mm-hmm.
do take a fish oil pill,
Okay.
just because I'm older, so trying to keep the heart pumping in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course the magnesium. Um, it's interesting because I've had a couple of people commented on my videos because when I do what a day and eat and I show the supplements, I just show the bag of supplements. Some people say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, you're taking dietary pills to lose weight," and it's like, no, I just decided not to take a multivitamin. I decided to take
Sure.
individual ones that
Mm-hmm.
I feel help me. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah, people don't realize a lot of times too that like those multivitamins that they have on the shelf, they don't really have much of anything in them. Like they may have all these
yeah,
different vitamins in them, but the quantities, like the actual
yeah,
amount in each pill is very minimal.
yeah, yeah. And some of it is not necessarily the best quality vitamin
Mm,
too. I know most of them that they have
absolutely.
magnesium in it. The magnesium is not good.
Yeah, they'll
Uh,
usually wind up with like magnesium citrate or something
yeah,
in there that's yeah, it's magnesium, but you're right, the quality of it's just
yeah,
really worth even taking.
yeah. It's going to pass right through you and do nothing for you. And,
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have to be careful of that. If anyone's listening, just when you're using magnesium, just don't go all crazy with it because
yeah,
it can definitely cause some intestinal issues if you take too much of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So,
I have been taking a probiotic too for a while now, and I think that has helped a little bit.
mhm.
Um, um,
Yeah, I've taken those in the past as well. I've just never really found any of them that helped too much.
yeah.
Uh, the one thing is I'd forgot about. One thing I've been trying lately is things like the lion's mane mushroom
Oh, okay. Yeah,
powder and stuff like that,
yeah,
because it's supposed to help with like cognitive, function and all that. So
yeah,
I've been giving that a try, and it doesn't. Uh, I'm not sure I see too much of a difference in it, but I haven't really
yeah,
given it like a long enough trial to know one way or the other.
yeah, yeah. No, like I say, some of it is being older. I kind of just trying to make sure things keep oiled inside so that the blood keeps flowing and doesn't have the little things clotting or the heart, keep the muscles
Sure.
stay in good shape and stuff. So
yeah, I hear you there. So okay, well, I won't take up too much of your time. I do like to ask every guest sort of at the end of the interview, you started keto, what is it, 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago now?
a little over 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you went back to sort of when you were starting, is there something that, you wish you knew or you did know that you think people, could, like, you give advice to someone who's new starting
Yeah.
keto, what kind of advice would you give them?
I guess I would give them the advice to try to keep it simple at first. Try to keep it really basic, especially for the first, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks. Try to stay with the whole foods. Limit the vegetables. Small portions of vegetables. Really keep it simple. Don't complicate it. Wait some period of time until you get rid of the craving for the sugars and stuff out of that first 4 to 6 weeks before you start doing it. Really figure out what's going to work for you as well. Don't jump into it if you think you're worried about restriction. Don't jump right into the total carbs. Kind of you allow yourself some of that net carb stuff, but keep it really simple, really simple, really basic. Don't complicate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but today we complicate it too much by doing net carbs and adding and subtracting and and all that stuff, and stay away from all of the keto treats and snacks. Just because it says keto on it, doesn't mean it's keto. Or they just take the portion size and make it much smaller so it fits the macros, right? So, and make sure you learn about labels and reading labels. I think that's pretty important as you get through your first 4 to 6 weeks, and stick with it. You got to do it for a month or two to really start feeling the effects of it. And really, it's not something you're going to do for a week and feel like you're, a Superman or a super person. It's going to take some time. So.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that's good advice. It's because you're right. If you do complicate it, like the more complicated it is, the less chance I think people have of sticking with it.
Yeah.
It is just as easy as eating whole foods and trying to avoid things that are going to trigger you to go back to your old way of eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think really when you start getting into all that other stuff, that's where the money starts really adding up. Whereas, you're eating, and don't worry about the ground, the grass-fed, grass-finished, beef and stuff. Just, so go in and look for hamburger that's on sale. Look for, beef products that are on sale. Look for chicken that's on sale. Frozen vegetables. So just, and those things can help you get into it and actually end up costing you less to do it than a traditional diet, standard American diet. And it's when you get into all of the keto products, that's when the money starts really racking up, to me anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Because we all know that if it's got the keto label on it, the price is going to be twice as much as it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, that's great advice. I'm sure, someone out there will take that to heart, and hopefully they can put it into action and start a lifestyle change, like the both of us have, and how so many other people in the community have. Cool. Okay, well, I think we'll end things off there, unless there's anything else you wanted to add.
No,
to the
I'm good.
conversation.
Thank you for having me. I really, really, truly appreciate it.
Yeah. Absolutely.